Alright guys, well thanks for joining me for this webinar today. My name is Jesse, I'm with CADimensions, and today we're going to be going over a comparison between PhotoView360 and SolidWorks Visualize. So these two both come in the same packages, so SolidWorks Professional and Up. You'll get both of these packages, so we've been getting a lot of questions on, what are the differences between these two, which one should I be using when I'm going for renderings, and what are the differences between them. So that's what we're going to be going over today. We're going to be taking a look at a comparison between the two and what their strengths and weaknesses are. This is my first of two webinars that I have coming up this month on Visualize. So these shots that you see at the top, those are actually for my next webinar coming up on the 26th, I think. That will be going over Visualize Pro using just strictly camera motion in Visualize Pro. Visualize Pro has a lot to offer. I'll talk about that just briefly at the end, just so you guys have an idea of what the differences are there. But that's coming up for Visualize Pro. This one is going to be focused on standard. I'll call out a couple things in the comparisons that Pro might have versus Visualize Standard. But for the most part, we're going to be looking at a comparison between the products that you get in SolidWorks Professional and Up. All right, so our agenda for the day, all we've got to do for this session is just compare the two of these and again, kind of see how the two fit together, where their strengths and where their weaknesses are. So the topics that we're going to cover today, we'll take a look at their environments, appearances, how those differ or how they're the same between the two cameras, selections. We'll take a look at updating because that's sometimes important as you're working through this process. Quality, of course, that's a big topic for rendering softwares. Workflow, just what the process of working with that software looks like, and then at the end we'll kind of wrap things up, and I'll give you my opinion on what product I like for what scenarios. All right, so let's start right off with environments. I kind of laid these out, these topics in a number of charts here, so we can kind of look side by side and see what capabilities they have as a side-by-side comparison. And you'll see in this case with environments, they will look very similar. So both of them will support HDR environments. You can use a backdrop image in both scenarios. Backplate, it's called in Visualize. You can use a background image in PhotoView360. Again, PhotoView360 is pulling all of its environment information right out of SolidWorks. So the environments that you have in SolidWorks will apply in PhotoView360. Both of them do have the capability to add in lights wherever you would like them. You can move them around. Of course, you've got spot, directional, and point lights in both PhotoView360 and Visualize. They both do have several scenes available. I didn't actually go through and count them up, but you've got a lot of scenes to work with in both softwares. So you have a lot of options to work with, and you can download more on both sides. So they both do also give you the ability to use your own custom HDR images, so you can bring something in that you may have created yourself or you've downloaded from the web, as I just mentioned, and you can bring that in and make use of that in both of these packages. So environments will look fairly similar between the two of them in this set of criteria. Scene manipulation, in this case I'm talking about rotating the environment and things like that, adjusting its brightness. Both of these obviously have that capability. That's critical capability for a rendering package. Both of them do have that, as well as the ability to take the floor and flatten that. That's helpful in scenarios where you're trying to get things lined up and looking correct with something that would be sitting on the ground. Both of these packages now do have that capability. The ability to bring in a scene from SolidWorks, obviously in PhotoView360, this doesn't apply because we're already in SolidWorks. So in the PhotoView360 package, it's just referencing that. In Visualize, you do have the ability to pull that in if you want to. You can choose not to do that if you want to just use the native Visualize environments, but you can also pull those in from SolidWorks as well. So if you really like the way things are looking in SolidWorks, you can choose to pull that into Visualize as well. Both packages do have the ability to remove the background by saving out to an alpha channel. This is an extremely helpful capability. SolidWorks, you have this ability now to save this right out as a PNG right from SolidWorks itself, but in rendering modes as well, we can save these out without the background. And as I said, this is a very helpful capability because that will let you take that image and then overlay that onto something else in post, or if you put it on your website. There's nothing, that no white background or black background or whatever to have to worry about or try to remove. You can just send that out without it right to begin with, and then you have the image that you're actually looking for. So both of them have the capabilities to do that. And like I said, that is a very helpful technique. One area where the two of these softwares would differ in terms of environments is PhotoView, to my knowledge anyway, doesn't have any ability for third-party HDR packages. HDR Studio, HDR Light Studio is a neat package that does integrate with Visualize. If you've never seen that type of package in use, it's really, really cool. Here's an example of it just working on its own, but you can see you can interactively drag and drop lights onto your model. And again, this works with Visualize. If you have a seat of this software, you can actually watch your lighting update in your rendering in Visualize as you're adding lights to your scene using HDR Light Studio, which is really neat. So you can see it just kind of dragging and dropping right onto the surfaces, and it's creating the HDR image up here as you're moving lights onto the model itself. So here's the resulting lighting HDR, and the final result, the rendering, is what you're looking at. So a really nice way, especially for product photography, or in this case would be rendering. You can very easily set up your own custom studio to get the lighting just right by creating your own HDR if you're using a third-party package. And again, Visualize has really nice integration with this particular software. Okay, so for environments, I'm going to say that this is going to be a tie. I think these are pretty evenly matched in this category. Ease of application of getting the environment in there, very easy. Level of control, I think, is very similar. Ease of selection and manipulation, I think, pretty similar. Again, I didn't count out number of environments, but they both have a good number of them to choose from. So you should be able to find something that will work, whether it's just a studio, a lighting studio, default studio, or something more interesting. Both of them have quite a few environments to offer and similar controls. So I'll say a tie in this case. So moving on to the category of appearances. We'll see there that both of these softwares do have local and web appearances. So again, just like environments, we have local appearances that will get loaded with the software, so you can drag and drop those right off the bat. If you're looking for additional softwares, you can go out to the web and download those. For PhotoView360, we have the ability to do that. We have access to the Moto library at this point, and Visualize does have a section right within the software where you can look and see what's available on the web database, and then you can pull that down right immediately and use it. So both of these have the capability to expand the number of appearances that you have in the package. Both can add decals, so that is same across both PhotoView and Visualize. I will mention that the decals that you apply in SolidWorks will carry over into Visualize as well, so you don't have to reapply them, but both do have the capability to add them in each respective software as well. Both will allow you to create and save appearances. So if you get something just right, it's just the right color and all the specs are exactly the way you like it, you can save that out in both scenarios. Visualize, however, does have the ability to create multi-layer appearances, which is pretty cool. So what that allows you to do is stack appearances together. So for something like a carbon fiber is what I've been using it for very nicely, you can create that texture underneath and then a clear coat over top or something like that. So you can combine appearances to really get the the visual properties that you would expect to see if you were looking at it with your eye. You can create and save those as well. Now, of course, the last topic here is import from SolidWorks. The appearances, of course, do import from PhotoView360 or from SolidWorks and come into Visualize. Obviously, this doesn't apply in PhotoView360 because you're already in SolidWorks, so that is that obviously will carry over. But that's typically my workflow. We haven't gotten to workflow, but usually I will apply my appearances in SolidWorks and then just ship it over to Visualize. Also on the topic of appearances, we have a bunch of maps that we can apply. All of these would apply back and forth from PhotoView360. So you can apply texture maps, you can apply alpha maps, bump maps, displacement maps. The only one that PhotoView360, to my knowledge, does not support would be a specular map. Now, a texture map, you can apply sort of like a bitmap image, and you can apply that to a face. Alpha map will allow you to actually map holes into the appearance, so you'll be able to see through the appearance. PhotoView360 does it a little bit different than Visualize, but either software you can sort of get this accomplished. Bump maps, this will give you the appearance of a physical texture, so it will look like it's lit, like a knurling is a good example of this. It will look like it's lit as if it were raised, but if you looked at it from the side, a bump map is still flat. It just will give the appearance that it has a raised or embossed texture. A displacement map, on the other hand, will actually create something that would stand off or pull into the surface in that texture. So it's a lot more expensive in terms of resources. But if you're looking at a certain angle that you don't have the texture modeled in, a displacement map can be a good way to handle that. Now, a specular map, what this allows you to do is basically control, obviously, the specular amount that you're getting in the appearance up or down with a black or white map. And this would be used in scenarios something like this, where you're trying to create something that may look worn or scratched, something where you're trying to get the highlights to pull out of it. And you can see it's not reflectivity, but it's pulling the specular amount down. So in this case, I applied a specular map and Visualize of just some scratches and some haze. And what that does is it again pulls the specularity out of the appearance only in those specific regions. So it sort of gives it a worn or a rough look. And again, that's available in Visualize only, but a neat resource. All right, so for appearances, this one varies a little bit more. I'm going to give the winner to Visualize in this category. Ease of application is the same in both. Drag and drop, both are drag and drop. Again, I typically apply my appearances in SolidWorks and then I pull them into Visualize. Sometimes I'll make some tweaks because I like the Visualize appearances better oftentimes, but for the most part, I will apply those. But again, the process is the same. Drag and drop application. Works very well in both cases. Level of control, I think you do have more control over the appearances in Visualize. Again, you have the ability to create multi-layer appearances and things like that. So you've got a little more dynamics in terms of creating those and modifying those. So I think that category goes to Visualize there. Ease of selection, I think PhotoView might have a little bit of an edge here. It depends on how you're looking at it, but you do have the hierarchy in SolidWorks, which I kind of like because that will kind of lay things out in terms of where you have appearances applied. I don't know. I'm kind of tossed up on how I stack that one up, but I'll give an edge to PhotoView360 on that. And I think Visualize does have the edge in terms of render quality and in terms of the materials. I mentioned that I like the Visualize materials better than I do the PhotoView in many cases. So I think I'll give the edge to that. So overall, winner in this category, I'll say Visualize is my choice here. All right, the next category is cameras. These will work very similarly between the two. Both will allow you to create and store multiple cameras, so that is very similar in the way that those work. Manipulating cameras through the graphics pane, you can do this with either PhotoView or with Visualize. What I mean by that is just scrolling and using mouse shortcuts to move the camera around. So we can do that in both. They have different controls at the moment for PhotoView and Visualize, but definitely possible in both. You can also, the next category, manipulate cameras with the camera position. What I mean by that is to kind of outside of the camera, physically move the camera around. This can be helpful when you're trying to set things up and you kind of have a picture in your head of where you want the camera to be, where you want the product to be. So you can kind of, from the photographer's standpoint, set up your digital studio, if you want to think of it that way, and you can physically move the camera around rather than being in the camera and sliding yourself around. So either way, you can do that in both both softwares. Dual and quad pane capable, yes to both. However, Visualize only gets this capability with Pro. So if you do use multiple panes to get things done, Visualize has this in Pro. PhotoView360 has this in just using SolidWorks capabilities. It can be handy sometimes. To be honest, I don't use it a whole lot, but sometimes when I'm positioning lights or something like that, it comes in handy. Not a tool that I use a lot, but some people really like that capability, and I won't deny that it does come in handy every once in a while. So Pro only for Visualize in that aspect. And speaking of aspects, aspect ratio lock for the cameras, both will allow this, and this is very helpful. I do this on a pretty regular basis. This will allow you to lock your camera at a certain ratio size. So if you're trying to get an image that's going into a video, you can set it to widescreen. The shape of this screen that you're looking at is 16:9, or you can set it to whatever aspect ratio you want the image to be, and then your camera will stay in that size and shape, so you can frame things very easily without having to worry about those moving around. Both do, of course, allow for that. So in the cameras category, ease of use, I'm going to give to PhotoView360. The controls for the shortcuts on Visualize are not the same controls as SolidWorks uses. I think they're a little bit tougher to learn. If you are used to using SolidWorks, then the controls, I'll admit, do take a little bit of getting used to. If you've downloaded beta for 2017, you've seen in there some information with some updates and some changes to Visualize in this regard. But currently, the controls are different from one to the other. That being said, now that I've gotten used to them, I think I'm going to keep my controls exactly the way they are, because the level of control that you have, you can see I've given a significant edge to Visualize. I think I can get what I want much quicker, which is my last category, the speed to view. And really, that's all that we really care about, right? Once you get used to any control system, how quickly can I get to what I want the image to look like? And I feel like, in my opinion, I can get to the end result a lot faster with the controls the way they are in Visualize. So even if the controls do change in the future, I think I'm going to leave mine right the way they are with the standard Visualize controls, because I feel like I have a lot more control and I have the ability to get to what I want in the end faster. So I'll give it less on ease of use, but better once you get used to it. So I'm giving the winner in this category for cameras to Visualize. And by the way, all of these charts are just kind of arbitrary. I'm just kind of making up numbers here just to sort of give a side-by-side comparison of my opinion on each of these categories. All right, selection is the next category. Again, similar controls here. Drag and drop appearance application, we talked about that. Most things are drag and drop in both of these softwares. Copy and paste appearances, this is available in both softwares. I do use this actually quite a bit. PhotoView does allow this as well as Visualize. So if you get something the way you like, you can just say, I want this appearance on this as well, sort of like the format painter in Windows softwares. We have the ability to group appearances in both versions, PhotoView and Visualize. And selection filters for the graphics area is one thing that we don't directly have for rendering purposes. In PhotoView360, we do have them in Visualize. However, we'll take a look at the specifics in the next slide here. But the independent component selection, we can pick those up. Obviously, in SolidWorks, we can pick any individual component. We do have the capability. You'll see this is the same block of criteria here, but you'll see that the independent component selection will depend sometimes on your import settings as to how you have that pulled into Visualize, which we won't get into a whole lot in here, but if you have questions regarding that, feel free to give me a call. But so copy and paste appearances, again, it's available in both, just a different process. Grouping appearances essentially will happen automatically if you're using the automatic import settings in Visualize, which is really nice. So whatever you have grouped together in SolidWorks under one appearance, they'll come grouped together automatically into Visualize, which is very convenient. If you are applying appearances at the component level in an assembly in PhotoView 360, you'll see those get grouped together as well. So all capabilities that are available, maybe just a slightly different process in some of them. The selection filters that I mentioned here, we have available for the graphics area. And Visualize, you can choose filters for picking up appearances, picking up parts, picking up groups, or picking up the model itself. So you can sort of filter out your graphics area as to what you're clicking on to sort of pinpoint what it is you're trying to select, which I found very helpful. All right, so for selection, again, these are fairly similar in the way that they work. So essentially just ease of manipulation is what we're looking for. I'll say a tie on this. Like I said, I like the filters that you have in Visualize, but pretty similar. They may work a little bit differently, but you have very similar controls in both. All right, so the next category is rework and updates. Model updating, obviously in PhotoView 360, you are in SolidWorks, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. So that will update. Visualize does allow you to monitor the file as well. However, so even though you're pulling your model from SolidWorks into your standalone Visualize rendering software, you have the option to say, yes, I want to monitor the file. And if something were to change, you'll see that update in Visualize as well. So you have the option to cut that tie if you want to. You say, this is just what I want. I just want to render this. I don't want to worry about the file, but you've also got the ability to update that as well. So a little bit of flexibility there. Now, obviously in Visualize, being that it is a standalone software, you don't have SolidWorks built in. So PhotoView has an edge, I guess, if you want to call it in that sense, in that you have SolidWorks right there. Again, with the updating capabilities of Visualize, I don't see it as too much of a big deal. So ease of updates, I'll give that essentially a tie, but I'll give the edge to PhotoView 360 only because you're already right in SolidWorks, so you don't really have to toggle back and forth, but it's basically the same process. If you check that on and Visualize, it will auto update for you, but I'll give the edge to PhotoView. So I guess I should have probably docked some points from Visualize, but I can't bring myself to do it. All right, so in terms of quality, this is a big topic, and definitely one that can be somewhat subjective as well. And just depending on what your needs really are, what's the difference really gonna make to you in terms of what resolution are you rendering at, and what type of rendering are you doing? Now, high-res rendering is available in both. High enough res to do most things that you would need to do. PhotoView, I think, caps out at 20,000 pixels, where Visualize, I believe, caps out at 30,000 pixels. So I think you can go a little bit larger in Visualize than you can in PhotoView. But again, when you're getting up into that realm, you're into poster size renderings. So for everyday rendering, high res rendering, high definition, a high definition video is 1920 by 1080. So we're looking at many multiples of that as the max size. So you can definitely get some very high res images out of both packages. Of course, we do have adjustable quality for each in terms of what we're intending to send out, so you can control what the final quality of your image is going to be in terms of resolution and in terms of render quality. You might want to reduce that for speed purposes or things like that. So both packages do allow for that. Both do also allow you to preview your render in one setting and export in another, so you can independently work with whatever settings you want to work with as you're setting things up, and then you can send that out at higher quality. Both packages allow for that. The one thing that PhotoView 360 does not have, as far as I've found anyway, is an ability to set a render based on time. So you can say in Visualize, I want to render this for 2 hours, and once the 2 hours is up, then finish the render. Where in PhotoView 360, it's basically just based on your render settings. Now Visualize has that capability as well. You can just have it render based on your settings, and it will just give you what your specific settings are, but they also have the time-based. Of course, both packages do also include multiple render output file types. In this case, we're just kind of comparing what comes in Visualize Standard, so we're just talking about static images, but they both do include the ability to, JPEG, TIFF, PNG, whatever type of file format that you want to use. There's a good chance that it's in there. All right, so let's take a look at quality here. This is an image of that model that we were just looking at. I rendered this in PhotoView360, just kind of base settings. I didn't really do too much, just kind of threw it on there and rendered it out. This image took 20 minutes to render in PhotoView360, again at full size at 1920 by 1080. My computer was dogging a little bit when I was rendering this, so it may be exaggerating the amount of time that PhotoView would take to render this, but I did the equivalent amount of time in Visualize, using Visualize appearances in a couple cases. Again, with plastics, you may not notice a massive difference, but you see this scene is by default illuminated a little bit more. The floor reflectivity was turned down a little bit, but where I see a difference is areas like this, where you've got a little nicer transparencies, I think, in these cases. Overall, it's a little more pleasing to me. But where I really see an impact, so this is a 20-minute versus 20-minute. If we switch over to a 1-minute visualized render, it looks very similar. You know, there's a little bit more noise in here. The shadows have harshened up a little bit. But again, is this something that you would notice if you didn't see them side by side? You know, maybe not, depending on your needs. But again, a 1-minute versus a 20-minute rendering, you don't have the option to get that 1-minute rendering with PhotoView360. Now again, with PhotoView, I mentioned my computer was dogging down a little bit, so maybe a 20-minute isn't completely accurate, but certainly 1-minute versus 20-minute, that's definitely an improvement in speed, and I think in this case an improvement in quality as well. So the two of those together, I think as a big benefit for rendering and Visualize. So again, if we look at those side by side, again, there are some differences in here. We've got a little brighter scene in this case in our Visualize, so things do appear a little bit brighter, but certainly more vivid. Again, these are just by defaults. I feel like PhotoView lacks a little bit of contrast in comparison to Visualize. Again, some of that could be the lighting as well, but for me, a 20-minute render to get this versus a 1-minute render to get this, in my opinion, I'm going to go with Visualize, especially if I'm trying to run those iterations and get that set up quickly. So again, most of the difference that I see is kind of in this region. And again, I didn't really load these particular sections in high res, so they get a little grainy here. But you know, this is my preference. And again, a 1-minute versus 20-minute. So just a little comparison in quality there. Hey guys, I just want to put a pause in here real quick. When I did this session, when I came back and I was looking through it, and I went back and I reviewed this a little bit more, and I think I might have given PhotoView a slight unfair shake here, but when I had rendered this 20-minute render that was on maximum quality, I was thinking I was on best quality here, but let me compare these real quick down the line, because I mentioned that you just couldn't get a quick render out of PhotoView, and that's not entirely true all the time, because you can turn the quality settings down for quicker renders. And again, to be honest, most of the time I used best or maximum. In this case, I was using maximum. So the maximum render time was 20 minutes on the PhotoView render here. If I snap down to the best settings, which is often what I use, you don't see a massive difference here. And that's kind of that 1-minute render kind of fast quality that I was showing in Visualize. So that's a 2-minute render in PhotoView360. Still, it was a little over 2 minutes, so it's still double the amount of time. Now again, this is a very simple render. There's not a whole lot going on here. And you can see that there's not a massive difference. Where you do see the difference is in the transparency. So that's pretty typical. These settings do index up your reflection rays and your refraction. So maximum is 10 and 10, best is 8 and 8. So you see that bump down. So we do see a difference there where the reflections usually come out quicker than the refractions do. So, but as we move these things down, you can see you can get quicker renders, a minute and a half on better settings, but you can see that there's quite a bit of noise starting to be introduced into the image. If you snap down to good, you can see most of our reflections have gone and we're starting to get quite a bit of noise. So it's not really an acceptable image here, even compared to better. But you can get quick renders, just not of the same quality, in my opinion. I'm not taken Visualize off of the winner list here. I think Visualize is still the clear winner in this category, but I just wanted to clarify this because I think I misrepresented PhotoView a little bit in this case. All right, back to your regularly scheduled program. All right, on to workflow. Hopefully I'm not boring you guys too much, but I want you to also have this as a resource that you can come back and kind of compare these, after the fact. But workflow, integrated preview we have in both. However, the Visualize is what you see is what you get rendering style engine. So as you're working with it, it's rendering real time. Now you can do this with the integrated preview in PhotoView360, but maybe it's just my computer, but it just cannot keep up with it. So I very, very rarely work with the integrated preview. So I'm always snapping back and forth in PhotoView360 from working in SolidWorks. Then I run a preview render to see what I'm getting, and then back and tweak something, and then I run a preview render. Where Visualize, you can just real time render it, and it will just adjust the resolution or however you have your settings set, but it will reload that image very quickly in comparison to PhotoView360, in that it can access both your CPU and your GPU and Visualize, and on laptops certainly improve performance quite a bit in terms of real-time rendering. So that's a huge benefit in my opinion of Visualize. Appearance preview, I say no in PhotoView360. Obviously, you can preview your appearance in SolidWorks, but not while you're rendering, working with your preview mode in PhotoView360. And Visualize, again, you are rendering as you're working, unless you switch it over manually into preview mode as well. But as you're rendering, you're working, so you can get rendered previews of your materials or your appearances as you're dragging those on in Visualize as well. Now, render region is an area that I used quite a bit in PhotoView360. Visualize does have it, but I haven't used it in Visualize hardly at all, other than to just play with it. Render region I used in PhotoView360 quite a bit just to improve performance in terms of rendering a small area of the model, so I could get an idea of what's going on in that area. Again, with Visualize rendering in real time, I don't feel like I really need to do that anymore, though it does have the capability. If you have Pro, you can flip that on. Built-in animation capabilities with PhotoView360 being built into SolidWorks, then you can use the motion manager, where Visualize will require you to have Pro to do any animations of that type of thing. Configurations are available in PhotoView360. They are available in Visualize as well, but only in Pro. Now, configuration in terms of rendering, I'm referring to display states in SolidWorks, and configuration is actually what it's called in Visualize, just different visual properties, different versions of visual properties. Multiple viewports we talked about. PhotoView does use SolidWorks multiple viewport, where Pro is required for Visualize to do that. So again, just a little chart here again that you can come back to as a reference, explaining what we just kind of talked about there in the comparison between PhotoView and Visualize, workflow related. All right, so workflow related, I'll give ease of use to Visualize, and speed to final, I think, to Visualize as well. The main reason for this is because of what you see is what you get rendering. So you're working with the rendering as you're going. I always felt with PhotoView, I would get things kind of looking the way I wanted in SolidWorks, and then I go to PhotoView and things look completely different. And I'd have to go back and switch things around a little bit, get things tweaked in the way I want it, then go back to the rendering, tweak and rendering, where you don't have any of that in Visualize. So I think that speeds up the process a lot, where you're just working with the rendering and you don't have to really think about it. You can tweak things as you're going, and it makes a whole lot more sense. So not having to snap in and out of rendering previews, makes it a joy to use for beginners as well as seasoned renderists. If you're wondering, that is not a word. I made that up. But you know what I mean. Experienced people and beginners, I think, really benefit from that type of rendering tool. All right, so I've been talking for quite a while, going cross-eyed looking at charts. So Synopsis for strengths, I think in PhotoView360, I do see it as a benefit that you don't have to leave SolidWorks. It's right there. You don't have to go anywhere. It works with SolidWorks very closely because it's in with SolidWorks. I still see that as a benefit. Some people really like having, a standalone rendering software. I haven't haven't felt like it's been a real issue to use Visualize as standalone. I like it very well. It is a benefit in cases where you can, have someone else rendering on Visualize where somebody else is using SolidWorks. So that, I guess, would be a negative to PhotoView, I suppose, but it is handy to have the rendering tool right there, I guess, as well. Animation, of course, that's a difference there where you will need to upgrade to Visualize Professional to get any kind of animation capabilities in there. So you do have the ability to PhotoView render animations that you've built in SolidWorks, including mechanical animations. So Visualize doesn't really have access to the assembly's mates and things like that. So that's an edge, I think, for sure that PhotoView360 has. And of course, the interface and controls are familiar to SolidWorks. So if you're already a SolidWorks user, you don't have anything to learn. You can just kind of carry right over into PhotoView and keep right on going. For Visualize, what you see is what you get. We just talked about that. It makes it very easy to, I think, learn rendering and also to get more complex renderings dialed in quickly when you're just working directly with the rendering rather than having to move back and move back and forth. So that's a huge benefit to me with Visualize. It's fast rendering. You've got a lot more speed and power, I think, behind Visualize. The control is great and the quality looks really good. So that's a combination that's hard to beat. And the last bullet there is much greater potential to expand into Visualize Pro. So if you do take the time to learn Visualize and get used to that system, you can expand out into Pro without any more investment. So that kind of begs the question as to what does Pro even come with? Is it worth upgrading to it? And you can see there is a ton of stuff. This isn't even all of it. I just kind of cherry picked some things out of the list of what Pro adds in to your Visualize standard. So there's a lot more than you can expand out into once you get comfortable with the Visualize that you've got in your SolidWorks package. You can really expand that out into something bigger and more interesting. So this is kind of an overwhelming list, but I'll just kind of highlight a few of the things that I really like about Pro. Configurations are very helpful. So you can set up, again, that's comparable to display states kind of in SolidWorks, where you can set up different versions of the same model. So you can use this for colorways or different setups for the same model. That's been very helpful. I've used that several times. Render all configs in cameras if you have multiple versions or multiple camera angles. With Pro, you can just send them all out at once. So just blast them all out, and when you come back in the morning, they're done. There's a turntable mode, which is kind of neat. So just a rotating turntable, which also has presentation mode, which is pretty cool. So you can kind of let your model just kind of spin around, and you can use that to show, potential clients or customers or whatever, have that kind of built in. The virtual reality and the panoramic are really, really cool. This alone is worth upgrading to Pro. What this allows you to do is render images, and you can control the quality of this, but you can render images that you can embed using the JavaScript that's built in the export of Visualize into your website, and users can come to your website and be able to interactively rotate. In the case of panoramic, you can pan, but with virtual reality, you can rotate the model around, and you can see it rendered as if it were rendering in real time. Even though it's just basically a bunch of images that are all stitched together, and then the JavaScript does all the work in the background of spinning the thing around properly. So really, really cool. It works very well. Again, that alone is worth upgrading to Pro, but you get a render queue, so you can send things to the queue and then blast it off over the weekend or something like that. You get individual rendering passes. This is neat. What this allows you to do is to be able to render things in terms of their individual passes for the rendering, so you can extract things very easily. I use this for masking. And of course, you have the capability for animation and the video formats in Pro as well. So you can make use of the animation ribbon, turntable animation, sun studies, and then you can keyframe, essentially anything in the software. So you have the animations. Again, I think the virtual reality and the animations makes it a no-brainer to switch to Pro. But again, this webinar is not really focused on Pro. I just kind of wanted to show you what some of the things are in that package. Okay, so back to Synopsis. I gave environment a tie, appearances I gave to visualize, cameras I gave to visualize, selection I gave a tie, rework and updates I gave an edge to PhotoView360, and quality and workflow I gave the win to visualize. So, looking at it in this way, I think visualize is my choice for the winner in the comparison between these two rendering tools. Again, essentially they serve the same purpose. They may work a little bit differently, but in the end, it comes down to a matter of preference. I think you've got both tools in the package, so whatever one you want to make use of, I think you'll get good results out of both of them. My preference is Visualize. For what it's worth, I don't think I've used PhotoView360 since I installed Visualize, but again, that's just kind of part of my preference. But both are great tools. I think Visualize has an edge over PhotoView360 currently already. And hopefully that gave you some idea of what some of the differences are between those two packages. All right, so at this point, if you have any questions, you can type those in the questions section in the webinar, and I'll be on here to answer any questions. If you want more information on Visualize, I've got some stuff out already. You can see playing in the lower left-hand corner, there's a section of my newest project called The Process. You can look that up on our CADimensions YouTube channel or on a Facebook page. That's shared out there. Again, I mentioned that I've got a camera techniques in Visualize webinar coming up. I believe that's the 26th, but you can find that on our website under the events. I have a couple of tech tips for Visualize out there already. So if you're just getting into Visualize, I've got to get a running start video on there on our tech tips section that will kind of get you started with a program. And I've got a couple of extra videos there, rendering a product into an image using the grid tool, and then an update video that I added a couple tools to that. Also, I do have a rendering contest that will be coming out soon. You'll be able to use any of our rendering software, as PhotoView or Visualize, and you can enter that. The details of that will be up on the blog, hopefully within the next week or two. So keep an eye out for that. And I hope you guys will submit. Other than that, thanks for hanging out with me. Again, if you have any questions that you haven't typed in the questions dialogue there, go ahead and do that. And if you think of something after the fact, just give us a call. All right, thanks guys.
Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and our blog for more great content by clicking on the links in the description below.